Coming up later in tonight's programme, South African Navy strike craft invited to take part in manoeuvres in South America. What's life like on the open sea? Well, from the Army to the Navy. 3 of South Africa's strike craft, the PW Botha, SAS Hendrik Mentz and the SAS Magnus Milan, are on their way to South America, where they will participate in joint exercises with the Argentinian and Uruguayan navies. This is the first time in more than a decade that such an invitation has been extended to the South African Navy. And according to naval sources, the success of this visit could result in more exercises with other navies. Cameraman Greg Nelson recently spent some time aboard one of the Navy's strike craft. This is his report.
What the Mirage fighter squadrons are to the Air Force, the strike craft flotilla is to the Navy, the sharp edge. The men are highly trained and have to be particularly alert. As Commander Alan Green, captain of the PW Botha, says, you can't afford to have any weak link in the system.
This strike craft, which is one of a class of 6, can be compared to a floating bomb, in as much as that it has 276mm guns and all the ammunition that goes with them, 6 Scorpion surface-to-surface missiles, and a huge amount of fuel that will give this ship a range up and down the coast to adequately patrol the area. Together with the fact that there are 52 men on board in very confined space, their sleeping quarters and the passages to them are through these fuel and ammunition areas.
Patrolling our territorial waters and fishing grounds is only one of the many tasks performed. This routine is sometimes broken. 2 strike craft from the Simonstown Naval Flotilla were ordered to sink the 2 halves of a scrap bulk carrier, drifting dangerously in the shipping lanes south of Cape Agulhas. The bulk carrier, Frota Norte, was being towed to the Far East for scrap. It became a shipping hazard after it broke in half in huge seas 110 miles off Mossel Bay. Divers were transferred from the Kobie to the wreck. The demolition team went about the difficult task of strategically laying 200 kilograms of explosives in the dark holds and the engine room. A slow 10-minute fuse was lit, and the last few seconds seemed to take forever.
Yes, here we go. Yes.
The captain of the ship, Commander Peter Eldon, seized upon the opportunity to test his men and weapons. Good sea legs are essential in firing a 20mm gun on a rolling ship.
Check.
A lot of strain on the legs, but you just forget about it. The rust just keeps you going.
The deadly 76mm guns delivered the coup de grace. With the stern section resting on the seabed at 180 meters, the other half of the wreck was drifting further and further south, eventually ending up 200 miles south of Cape Agulhas. The strike craft PW Botha was ordered to sink it. The strike craft is capable of 35 knots, but at times had to throttle back to 6 knots in the heavy seas in order to reach the stricken vessel. It was action stations the minute the ship was sighted. The 76mm weapon system, capable of firing 85 rounds per minute, is totally integrated, using radar, an optical director, and a number of computers to ensure that the target is hit first time.
These weapons certainly weren't designed to do battle in that sort of sea condition from a small platform like this. However, we proved that with consideration and a bit of skill, it's quite adequate. One only has to have the opportunity to try these things in various sea conditions.
Each member of the crew has to remember that onboard safety is of utmost importance.
Safety procedures are the procedures that keep us alive. We stick to these in the intimate detail, especially when we do firings. We take into consideration any small vessel, aircraft, or person ashore that might be at risk.
Once the ship's crew is worked up, they stay together from one operational period to the next, and only in emergencies is the team changed. But how is a new member selected?
The selection process is done by the men themselves. They know that it's an honor and a privilege to serve on board these ships, and for that reason they aspire to gain good marks on the courses that they do, so that they will be considered on board as a trainee.
The men and equipment during an operation like this are put to the test. Despite the heavy seas and rough weather, they prove their ability to do the task, return to harbour and carry on with their following assignment the very next day.